So I thought I was gonna like Final Fantasy 16. Okay, going into this game, this was one of my most anticipated of the year. But as I've said, even in past videos, this is the first mainline Final Fantasy game that I'm playing with everybody. I guess if you don't count Final Fantasy 7 Remake, I did do that. But 15, I never jumped into. Lightning Trilogy, watched my sister play it. I've never done this before. This is the first one. So I was excited. I've seen so much about this game leading into this demo and then ultimately, when the game comes out. And it's always looked phenomenal. And where I stood is, okay, I've had enough. I've seen enough of it. I don't need to see any more. The game has sold me. The gameplay, the actual fighting looks incredible. The story looks interesting, but to be honest with you, I didn't really look too deep into it, including even the characters. I didn't really care all that much, but I was expecting this to be, well, one of the better games of the year. Well, I've played the demo, and I put about an hour and 52 minutes in. The average time is about 2 hours for the demo, and it's absolutely incredible. I loved it. And I don't say that with any like hyperbolic, ness, or that's probably not the right word, but I'm not exaggerating, honestly, at all. I was blown away. Now, the first like 10, 15, 20 minutes, I think does its best job of telling you this is going to be grand. This is going to be massive. This is going to be epic. And even if you don't necessarily know what's going on, right, in terms of the lore, that stuff will kind of be explained after. But you're basically put into a gigantic battle, or at least just see a gigantic battle to start the game. It's mind-blowing. And one thing that really stood out to me immediately, and I saw this on Twitter, but it actually further proves that point. You gotta play it. You literally have to have it be on your TV because the game, it does look good when you're watching trailers, the big kind of like those mecha battles, whatever you want to call them. They always look phenomenal, right? Visually, in kind of this grand nature, they always look really good. But how are they going to look just when they're on your monitor or just on your TV, like, right in front of you, right? Will it look better? Will it look worse than that? It looks insanely good. There are some issues with frame rates, and there's actually, well, for me, there was only one time that the frame rate became an issue. I'll talk about that as we go through. But in terms of like the visual fidelity and just the graphics themselves, they look mind-blowing. This is a PS5 game, and it's about time. Now, we've had some Ratchet and Clank, Demon Souls, things like that. I'm not saying this is the first one, but this is just another one that kind of reminds you, oh yeah, if you ditch the last gen stuff, if you give these guys enough time to make a game, this is what you can get on only next gen platforms. I think we're going to get a lot more of this with both PlayStation games and Xbox games, like say like a Hellblade. I think they're coming, and I cannot wait because this game gets me more excited for it. So immediately, again, that stuff jumps out at you. But honestly, I would say two things most surprised me. Number one, I had seen the talk of like Game of Thrones and this medieval kind of theme, and it being a little bit more like mature kind of rating, right? Like told for more grown-ups. And I never really took it seriously. I never doubted it, but I guess what I mean is I just never really cared. I never really looked too deep into that. Well, one of the things, again, that jumps out immediately at you in the 2 hours is the story of this game seems awesome. Now, yeah, it's just 2 hours. It could completely fall apart, okay? I'm not saying it's going to be this good throughout the entire game. I hope it is, but it is outrageously good, and it gives you those Game of Thrones vibes. It gives you that medieval vibe. Again, very much told for an adult audience. There is some blood. There is some mature kind of themes that are going on. It's actually insane. Like, it caught me off guard how good that is. The characters are extremely good. I'd seen Clive, but I don't really care. I think Clive so far, great character. Jill, great character. I mean, there's so many. Whether they're intriguing characters that will obviously get more of as the game goes on, or they're just like really good from what we've seen so far, it blew me away. Okay, so that was another thing that blew me away. And then the final thing that really like was an oh my god kind of moment to me was the combat. So this was another one. We have heard about it. We know who made it. We know what he's made in the past. We've seen it before. But again, what's it going to feel like when you actually play it? I just played DMC5, okay? I played it maybe like 2 hours when it first came out, very short amount of time. I went back, I played it just a few weeks ago, actually for my third channel. It wasn't because of Final Fantasy. And I really liked it, and I liked the gameplay of Devil May Cry 5, and even just Devil May Cry in general. I like it a lot. again, you can be told this stuff all day, but then actually playing it is something different. The combat here is excellent. The enemy variety, now there's not too much enemy variety in this short little demo. In short, I mean, 2 hours is actually not very short for a demo, right? But what you get here, there's not too much variety, but you do get a couple bosses, whether they're kind of mini bosses or main bosses. You get a couple enemy types that all require something a little bit different. You know, their patterns and being able to read it and doing your abilities. It's another example of when it just looks so good, because when you do that dash, when you press circle, it just looks incredible. It feels incredible to do a perfect dodge and then swoop in with that circle button, right? And then hit them with like a combo attack and then shoot fire. It is outrageously good from a visual point for sure, but then also from a feel point. The game felt awesome. That's the thing that really, because I didn't really even know what it was going to feel like. You can be told these things again all day long, but I just kind of expected, well, you hear Final Fantasy. I love 7's remake. Again, I'm trying to get into the franchise, so I'm kind of going in with an open mind. Like, I'm going to kind of let them fill in what I know of Final Fantasy. Like, they can tell me. And that's kind of what happened. Like, this is now what I expect because they gave it to me in this demo. Does that make sense? So I didn't really know what to expect from the story, but the story seems incredible so far. Or what we played, I think, is incredible. The characters are incredible. The visuals and the scale of this game is nuts. The ending, when it's the two, I don't know what you want to call them. I think they do have official names, but it's escaping me right now. But when you're fighting with the two giants, it is insane. Now, the frame rate does get in the way. There is some major frame rate issues, I feel, in that literal fight. Nowhere else, I found, nowhere else in the entire game, including even the big kind of war scene in the beginning when it's like two huge armies and, you know, those two kind of, or one's a titan, one's whatever, that goddess thing, right, and they're fighting. The game ran fine for me, at least for me. But the ending, when you're, you know, on rails a little bit, right, when you're shooting, that, you know, it looked incredible. And again, like, the scale of it's like, holy dear Jesus, this is a Final Fantasy game. But, you know, it did have some issues because it did struggle, I think, from get to scene in that moment. So that's something I hope they fix. And, you know, I guess if it only happens during those scenes, how many of those scenes are in the entire game? I don't know that, you know, offhand. But this game, the demo, surprised me, honestly, in every way, because I was expecting like a really good game. At this point, I can't stop thinking about it. At this point, I not only want to see more of the spectacle and the scale, I want to see more of the characters. I want to see the story through, because, dear God, what they do in just 2 hours of the story is actually kind of insane. And what they can continue to do, and the ending, right, this huge climax, like, what would that look like in this game? Because this game already is such a big scale kind of thing. But also then the combat, like, I want to just go out, let me fight enemies, let me continue to learn moves and just make the combat even better than it already is. I'm sold. Now, I was already sold. I made a video talking about how I was already sold, but this game, you know, we talked about the rumor, right, that Square Enix was panicking over pre-orders, and I think even I said, I'm sure other people said it, you know, having a demo coming out, and if the demo wins people over, well, that would certainly help, right? I truly cannot imagine, and I'm dead serious, I cannot imagine you play this demo and then you don't want to play the base game. I just really, because I feel like if you're going to play the demo, you're at least somewhat interested. If you're not interested whatsoever, why play the demo, right? There has to be at least some interest. I think if there's some interest and you play this demo, whether you're taking away the story from it or the characters, or you say, oh my God, the combat's amazing, or whatever it is, I think you're going to be sold on the base game. So this demo is actually about as perfect as it can. I really don't know, you know, the frame rate, yeah, there are some things I'm sure here and there, but in terms of what it needed to do for people, I think it is about as perfect as it can be. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.